Hello, everybody. It's so good to be home.
Yeah!
I am excited to be here. I'm gonna put this mic in this stand. I love you back. You got a mic too. Are y'all excited? I feel like y'all are excited. Now, as Aftab said, I was born and raised in Ohio, in Springfield, Ohio. We used to play against his school, Beaver Creek. I went to Springfield North High School. I grew up rooting for the Buckeyes and the Bengals and the Reds. They won a World Series when I was in middle school, I think. And I still root for those teams. I lived in Philadelphia, I've lived in New York, I live in Los Angeles now, but I will always be a Buckeye. My heart is here, my family is still here, and I care so much about the people of this great state of Ohio. I care so much about the future of this great state, and because I care about Ohio's future, I couldn't miss the opportunity to come to Cincinnati on the eve of this crucial election.
Yeah!
Sunday's usually my day to relax with my family. I couldn't chill this Sunday. We've got important work to do, and it's no time for us to be complacent, no time to relax. The situation is critical.
Yes!
What do I mean when I say the situation is critical? Well, I've been watching the news. Y'all been watching the news too?
Yeah.
And I believe it's not an exaggeration to say that our democracy is at stake in this election.
Yes.
The government we have today does not reflect the will of the people. It does not reflect our values. In fact, it is run by a party that is afraid of democracy.
Yes.
The Republican Party is afraid of democracy. It's afraid of a free press. That's why you see them demonizing the press just for doing their job, just for telling the truth. The president calls them the enemy of the people, while he's lavishing praise on a rogues gallery of dictators and despots and genocidal autocrats around the world. The Republican Party is afraid of an independent criminal justice system and judiciary. That's why you see the president picking judges who believes the president should be above the law. That's why the president spends so much energy denigrating the FBI for doing its job, investigating his many misdeeds and transgressions. And most importantly, the Republican Party is afraid to let people vote in free and fair elections. That's why they gerrymander the districts, so the legislature doesn't actually represent the people. They want politicians to pick their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. And that's why they spend so much energy trying to find any obstacle, any hurdle, any hindrance they can to discourage you from voting. They don't want you to vote. They have become a party defined by their fear of voter participation. Why are they afraid of democracy? I'll tell you why they're afraid. Because they know their agenda is unpopular. They don't want the election to represent the will of the people, because the will of the people does not include tax cuts lavished on corporations and wealthy people while the middle class remains stagnant and left out. The will of the people is that health care is affordable and accessible to every American, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their pre-existing conditions. The will of the people isn't that insurance companies get rich while ordinary people are bankrupted by health care costs. The will of the people is that women have the right to make their own health decisions. And the government shouldn't be able to legislate their bodies. The will of the people is that there is a livable minimum wage so that people with full-time jobs don't need food stamps to survive. The will of the people is that we have sensible gun laws so our kids don't have mass shooter drills in kindergarten. The will of the people is that we make our criminal justice system smarter and more just, that we stop spending so much money destroying our communities by locking people up and start spending that money building up our schools, our infrastructure, and our healthcare system. So the Republican Party knows all this. They know their unpopular agenda couldn't survive a fair election. So they had two options. Either change their agenda, bring it closer to the will of the people, or just try to make it so that the will of the people doesn't matter. So they chose the latter. Through gerrymandering and voter suppression, they've tried their best to insulate themselves from the voters. So how can we respond? What should we do? Should we throw up our hands and say there's no point in voting, the system's rigged anyway? Absolutely not. Their plan is to discourage us, to make us cynical, to let them continue to run the government for the few, for the powerful, for the connected. They want to divide us and distract us with fear-mongering while they continue to raid the social safety net to pay for tax cuts for the rich. But we have to make sure that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. We can't let their cynical vision of America prevail. We have to fight back. And the most important way all of us can fight back this week is to show up at the polls. To vote in such overwhelming, unprecedented numbers that even their most dogged efforts at suppression and discouragement won't work. We're not just voting against their agenda. We're not just voting to hold Trump accountable and check his abuses of power, though those are good reasons to vote. In Ohio, we also have positive reasons to vote too. You have great candidates running for governor, for senator, for lieutenant governor, for secretary of state, and on down the ticket. All of these positions matter.
Yes.
All of them impact your lives. They affect your health care, your kids' schools, your right to vote, the way the criminal justice system is run, and many more things. Ohio also has the opportunity to vote yes on issue 1. I support issue 1 because I believe it will save lives, save families, and strengthen our communities. It protects public safety and will save the taxpayers money too. Every day, people are struggling with the cycle of addiction. They're in and out of incarceration, and they're getting worse, not better, while their communities and their families continue to suffer. I know firsthand about these issues. Addiction has affected my own family very deeply. Other people I love as well. People with addiction don't need to be warehoused behind bars with their problems ignored. They need treatment. They need help. We've tried the option of locking people up. It hasn't solved our opioid epidemic. It hasn't solved our overdose crisis. Voting yes on issue 1 will save $100 million a year and direct those savings to addiction treatment, to victims of crime, to putting the focus on healing and helping instead of locking up a bunch of low-level offenders. Now talked about gerrymandering before. Another reason to vote this year is to make a difference there too. In 2012, Barack Obama won Ohio with 51% of the vote. But gerrymandering provided Republicans 75% of the Ohio House at the same time Obama was winning 51% of the vote. We have to vote out the state legislators responsible for these unfair districts and elect Democrats who will fight for fair elections.
Yeah.
This is not how our democracy should work, and it doesn't have to be this way. We have a unique opportunity to change that in this election, 2018. Who we elect to the state legislature in Ohio on this November 6th will decide how our state's congressional and legislative districts are drawn in 2021. So we have to think ahead, because the fight for the future is now.
Yes.
It's time for us to do something. Vote for Democrats down the ballot to make sure our representatives actually represent us. As I've said, there are all kinds of reasons to be worried. There are many reasons to be cynical or discouraged. But we can't give up on hope. I came here because I have hope. I know the people of Ohio are good people who care about their neighbors and their communities. I know the people of Ohio are hungry for change. I know the people of Ohio won't let the forces of exclusion and cynicism win. I know the people of Ohio are ready to elect Richard Cordray and Betty Sutton, to re-elect Sherrod Brown, to elect halftime, and set off a blue wave across this beautiful state. I know that sometimes these battles can be difficult and discouraging, but we can't give up. A few years ago, my friend Carmen and I wrote a song for a film called Selma. Selma told the story of people like Dr. Martin Luther King, like our living legend in Congress, John Lewis. They all put their lives on the line so that everybody could vote.
Yes.
They knew how powerful, how meaningful that right is to vote. If you have that right, don't waste it. Despite all the efforts to suppress us, we have the power to have a say in our democracy. We have the power to preserve our democracy. So that's what we're gonna do, Cincinnati. We're gonna vote. You're gonna go out and tell your friends and neighbors to vote. We're gonna break every turnout record for the state of Ohio. In fact, I want everybody here, after we're done, to walk across the street to the Hamilton County Board of Elections. Cast your ballot for all these wonderful candidates we have. And one day, Tuesday, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, glory. Thank you very much. God bless you.